Rescue 5x5. Thank you. Only took us 3 tries this morning to get into our own YouTube channel. It's just crazy because I haven't said anything about Epstein or Israel or Pete Diddy or any of those people lately. But way to start the first 30 seconds of the show. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, the 17th of March, 2025. Apparently, it's St. Patrick's Day, which, having grown up in the Northeast, was a really big deal because there were a lot of Irish there. It doesn't appear to be that big of a deal like elsewhere, especially in the Midwest. Over here in the Dust Bowl, it's just another Monday, apparently. So, sound off in the chat. I don't know where most of y'all are from, but if it's a big deal where you are, tell me. And include your rough location. It's a huge day in my fam because we are Irish, but I can't eat most of that food anymore. Nice, Dana. Nice. South Florida. Okay. Well, yeah, there's a lot of imports to South Florida. You guys know the drill. Subscribe, ring the little bell icon as well because it's Green Day. And the wonderful people over at Patreon, link is in the description. Mid-Indiana, semi-large deal. DC has a few Irish bars. That's true. DC does. East Texas is listening. Texas here, and Mark's safe from most things. Roger that. Speaking of Mark, Ministries is on the road to Mississippi right now. Kyle is out there, has been out there since yesterday doing recon, specifically in the kind of in between Jackson and Hattiesburg, that area right there. There appears to have been a tornado on the ground for over 50 miles from his observations. And we already have crews assembling and headed that direction. And this is looking like it's going to be a significant deployment, meaning weeks, not days. What's up? Good morning, Liberty. Liberty, if you want to put in the chat what you got going on over at Refuge, that'd be great. Also, Refuge is here. Refuge, if you want to put in the chat what you got going on, that'd be great. But yeah, so Grindstone is operational. Hopefully you've signed up for the email blast. Like, hey, we're deploying. Here's what you need to do. If you haven't, go to grindstoneministries.com. Bear Independent Brief, 17 March 2025. After more than 2 years, I think it's 3 years of bloody conflict that has claimed tens of thousands of lives, Ukraine and Russia appear to be inching towards a potential ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed to a U.S. proposed 30-day ceasefire, with President Zelensky appointing a negotiating team led by his chief of staff. Russian President Putin has expressed support for the idea, but attached numerous conditions, which then prompted British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer to dismiss Russia's response as not good enough, calling for actions, not empty words. Now, my understanding is Keir is standing up an actual security force, a fighting force, to go into Ukraine to stabilize, backfill the American presence, which I think is... I mean, let's be frank. I think it's hysterical. The Ukrainian army has more manpower and armor than France, Britain, and Germany combined. So, best of luck. And my concern there, big picture strategic stuff. My concern there is the British, the French, the Germans, other NATO members go into Ukraine, and something happens, false flag attack or legitimate attack or something, and then they invoke Article 5. Now, the relationship between the United States and other NATO countries, NATO as an organization, Shalom, Rick, is questionable at best right now. Not great. Would we respond to a call, we being the United States, respond to a call for Article 5? I don't know, but I do know this. I personally don't want to be embroiled in another world war, or any war, really, at this point. But war is historically good for the economy, and the global economy is in the dumpster and on fire right now. It's this undertone of the last 5 years since COVID that occasionally will rear its ugly head and see, somebody will talk about it for a small period of time, but it's a fact. We're in like month 60 of just a trash economy. Things are bad. I mean, they're even talking about right now, um, you know, Trump's numbers may officially have to be recorded as a recession. Homies, we've been in a recession for the last 5 years. It's officially been a recession. The only reason they didn't declare a recession was they changed the way they quantified what a recession looked like. Otherwise, it would all the way be a recession. So the fact that global economies are in the dumpster and war is good for economy, it am I biting my nails over it? No. Do I find it very curious? Yes. Am I paying attention to it? Yeah. Do I think that Britain and France and Germany can really bring anything to bear against the Russians? No, I don't. I don't, because we've known for a long time, since at least Trump's first presidency, that their defense spending has been far below what it should have been, far below the minimum. And it's a minimum for a reason. So, it's like, to put it in terms, it's maybe a little bit more relative to you. It's like there's a dozen bad guys at your mailbox, and they're going to start running towards your front door, and you've got like one high point 380 with one magazine. You're like, oh, I should have invested more in defense at this point. I should probably have like a rifle and maybe some plates, and more importantly, know how to use them, and maybe some friends, and maybe not let bad guys amass at my mailbox, right? It's that. And then so then you're like, "Oh no, there's 12 bad guys at my mailbox." And you're like, "I'll call my neighbors." And your neighbor comes over and he's got like a Daisy BB rifle. You're like, "We're here to help." It's like, I don't think that's gonna help a whole lot. And then like you call your other neighbor and he shows up with like a super soaker and he's like, "I'm in." Okay, great. And then they're like, "Well, we'll call that other guy." You call that third guy, and he shows up and he brought his Nerf chain gun with him. It's like, all right, this is maybe like a great day for like a Sunday afternoon barbecue, but when there's a dozen bad guys in the front yard running towards the house, your 380 high point and your Nerf gun and your Daisy BB rifle and your super soaker aren't going to get it done. And that's kind of how I see this shaking out in Ukraine if the United States pulls out, which I think we should. And Ukrainian defense is backstopped by Britain and Russia and I'm sorry, Britain and Germany and France. Well, Britain and Germany and France, their combined forces and equipment, their materiel doesn't even add up to what Ukraine already has. So I don't see that going well, which then means what? Okay, well, if they invoke Article 5, does the United States respond? If we don't, we're legitimately in a new world order. Legit in a new world order. If we do respond, we're legitimately in World War III. Uh, it's kind of a bad situation, no matter how you slice it, in my opinion. You'll shoot your eye out, Jennifer. You will. Hopefully, with that Daisy, you're shooting the eyes out of the bad guys with AKs in the front yard. I've been brief sidebar. I've been having some crazy dreams here lately. 2 nights ago, I had a dream. I'm sorry, 3 nights ago, I had a dream that my old landlord from Texas, Rusty, him, me, and my wife were in the hood in an apartment. And I'm like, what are we doing here? And it turns out my old landlord and my wife were smuggling full auto AKs and PKMs. And I'm like, why are we doing this? And they're like, there's a lot of money in it. I'm like, okay. And then a bunch of hood rats try and break into the apartment. And I've got an AK just bah, 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 bah. And I'm like, are you guys going to help? And they're like, no, we got stuff to do. And it turns out the stuff was my wife and my old landlord were a romantic item. And so they just left me there. And I woke up. I was like, well, that was weird. And then 2 nights ago, I had a dream that I had an Olds Cutlass 442. That's right, black with white racing stripes, 4 on the floor, and an AK in the back seat. And I was just on dirt roads, just power sliding dirt roads. So two AK dreams in a row. I don't know what that means. I did put an AK on the porch though. It's my current porch rifle. And then last night, I had a dream that I was hanging out with President Trump at the White House. And I was sitting on the couch and he like pulled a chair up. He's like, "Who's this guy? What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm an entrepreneur from Oklahoma." He's like, "That's right. I remember you. So gorgeous. Very good. I like what you're doing. Very good. I'm tremendous." And I woke up and I was like, that was special. That was interesting. So, yeah, what does that mean? I don't know. I don't typically dream, let alone remember my dreams, but maybe you can psychoanalyze that. Back speaking of psychoanalyzation, back to Keir Starmer. This guy's delusional. Shall we drink some coffee? Yes, we shall. Pick it and it'll never heal. I got shot in the ass cheek in my dream last night. Tis a flesh wound. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Bear meets Trump. Would it though? I mean, I don't know if Bear meets Trump is gonna go. I would hope that it would go well, but what if it doesn't? What if I'm like, Mr. Trump, why do we not have the files yet? And he's like, well, it's very complicated, national security, a lot of very good people on both sides. We have to be very careful. We don't want to make Bibi upset when we let the files out. That's why I gave Pam Bondi lots of Sharpies, and she's just going through, redacting everything. She's a redactyl, like a pterodactyl, but no wings, just Sharpies, just in there. I said, make it all black. The blacks, they love me. They love me. Make it all black, Pam. And that's what I trust her. That's what she's doing right now. So we'll have the files. It's just mostly ink, very little paper, lots of ink. Yeah, I would get back on here and be like, well, guys, I met with them and I talked with them, and it turns out, yeah, it's just like we thought. No different than anybody else. New ATF director, TJ Morse. Yeah, I'd shut it down that fast. I'd put my Trump wig on and be like, abolish the NFA, get rid of it, super gay, very stupid, suppressors for everyone, file a class action lawsuit for hearing loss like the 3M earplugs that didn't work. Everyone should have suppressors. They should be $14 on a shelf at Walmart, no NFA. You want a machine gun? Get a machine gun. You want to buy an F-18 Super Hornet? Buy Super Hornets for everyone. That's what I would do. Keir Starmer. After a call on Saturday with world leaders, including NATO, the European Union, and almost 24 European countries. I guess that's 23 European countries, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. A statement was issued that agreed to bring Putin to the negotiating table and, quote, to deliver this, we will accelerate our military support, tighten our sanctions on Russia's revenues, and continue to explore all lawful routes to ensure that Russia pays for the damage it has done to Ukraine, end quote. By what mechanism? How are you going to force Vladimir Putin to do anything? You can't even affect your own security. Right? Like, it's not righteous. It's not correct, but might does make right. You know, you can, if you're the biggest kid on the playground, you do kind of get away with whatever you want. Now, maybe 24 of the smaller kids could team up to take you in a fight out in the parking lot or in the sandbox. That's possible, right? Because quantity has a quality all of its own. But a bunch of them little kids are going to get beat up before they finally topple the big kid, like severely. And if the 24 little kids don't bum rush the big kid on the playground and they just try taking them one at a time, it's no skin off the nose of the big kid. Maybe that's too simple of a reduction, but it makes sense to me. Like, okay, you got 24 kids that want trial by combat with the one big kid on the playground, the bully. Well, if they're going 1v1, one at a time, who wins? The big kid. I still want an A10. Yeah, let's go, man. Let's go. I'm down. Yeah, the thing is, buying the ammunition, right? Like maybe if we reduce inflation and had real money, buying A10 ammunition wouldn't be that bad. But it's pretty bad right now. Like you could get like new tires for your truck, or you could get 5 A10 rounds. One and 5 A10 rounds are going to be. That's a very short bird. It's literally just bird, done, gone. But maybe we could crowdfund it. We could probably start like a GoFundMe to feed the A10. I think you'd probably get a lot of support with that. Starmer is pushing forward with what he calls, quote, a coalition of the willing, which is a group of some 25 nations prepared to help secure Ukraine following any peace deal. Military leaders from these countries are set to meet in London this Thursday to develop a, quote, strong and robust plan, end quote, that could potentially include boots on the ground to enforce peace terms. Again, enforce what? You brought your slingshot and 3 walnuts to a gunfight. Like, I don't know about that. At the same time, President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, described a recent 4-hour meeting with Putin as positive and solutions-based. According to Witkoff, the two sides are, quote, a lot closer today than they were a few weeks ago, end quote, with hopes for a ceasefire within weeks. I think Ukraine's going to get carved up. And I think what's interesting here is that the areas that Russia has, I'm sure just coincidentally, has gained and maintained control over, the Donbass, the Crimea, the Luhansk and Donetsk breakaway regions in southeast Ukraine. Those are the same regions where the minerals, predominantly 80+% of the minerals that Trump is interested in this mineral deal. Remember, Lindsey Graham, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, talking about, well, there's $13 trillion worth of minerals underneath the ground. We need to go over there and get it. Yeah, and here we are. Those minerals that Trump is interested in as part of the payback of the money that the United States taxpayer sent to Ukraine. Those minerals are predominantly located in the same regions that Russia aims to control. How's that going to work out? I don't know. I could see from a under the banner of world peace, a détente, a softening of aggression between the United States and Russia going forward, because Russia demographically is in the dumpster, financially is on their way to the dumpster. The United States demographically is in the dumpster, and financially, economically, I feel like we're in the dumpster, and we've already been doused with diesel fuel, and somebody is standing next to the dumpster with the match. So it's in everybody's best interest. Well, there's 2 ways this could go. 1, extract Ukrainian minerals, make them sellable on the world market to benefit both the United States and Russia. Good. We need people. We need money. Everything's fabulous. Tremendous. We have got all the lithiums and the salts are coming out of the ground, out of Ukraine. I told Zelensky, shut up, little man. I'm taking your ore. We could do that, and that would benefit both the United States and Russia. Or we could go to war. And we could go to war, like war, not sending more money to Ukraine so the Ukrainians can fight the Russians, Americans. And that's really not in our best interest. It's in the best interest of the bankers, the financiers on both sides. Anybody Google Khazaria here lately, and where the Khazarians may have relocated and what types of jobs they currently find themselves employed at, and who is it that paid for Palestine to get renamed in the late 1940s, post-World War II. Interesting family that also happens to own like all the banks in the world, except for a few handful of countries that didn't have banks from that family, which then, interestingly, coincidentally, just like 9 of these countries, Libya, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Lebanon, other places that we may or may not have been militarily involved over the last 20 plus years. Yeah, that family bought the land that got renamed that Khazarians moved to when they used to live in Ukraine, and they probably want war, like big war, because it's good for their pockets because they finance both sides of the conflict and they win no matter what happens. Similarly to the American Civil War, but that's a deep, deep rabbit hole that we don't have time to get into today. How interesting. But global World War III is not good for us because people be dying. We're going to send our best men here to go kill their best men there, which is going to leave destroy the demographics and leave a void of headship, leadership, and stewardship here back at home, which allows the socialists and the communists to gain even further foothold to continue to say that a guy who's dressed up in a dress with makeup on is actually a woman and birthing people and all of that nonsense, LBGTQIA plus rainbow shenanigans, all that, right? It just perpetuates all that. Because there's a void of leadership of real men here at home because they've gone halfway around the world to go kill on behalf of the United States dollar. Don't love that. Plus, just strategically, if we're embroiled in a ground war in Ukraine against Russia, that emboldens China to go over and take Taiwan and emboldens their ambitions in the South Pacific, where you get into like you've got New Zealand and you've got Australia and the Philippines. And again, how many small kids on the playground does it take to beat up one big kid? And in the process of finding out, a lot of people will die. And I'm not for a lot of people dying. Hopefully that makes sense. So the mineral deal, if the mineral deal requires the United States of America and Russia to be more friendly than we have been. Okay. I don't think we should simp for the Russians. I don't think we should bend over and take it. But Ukraine is next door to them, not next door to us. And if there's a way for us to recoup our investment in the special military operation in Ukraine and not go thermonuclear with the Russians, I think that's a win. Because me personally, I'm not interested in sending my sons and daughters halfway around the world to go fight for the Khazarian mafia. I'm good on that. I'm super good on that. And I'm typically speaking, too old and too broken to go fight myself. Although in Ukraine, I think it's up to age 65, you'll be renditioned off the street and handed an AK. Go do things. Excuse me. So who knows? Speaking of shit shows, over in Gaza, the situation remains precarious, with Hamas insisting Israel must implement their ceasefire agreement before they'll release American-Israeli hostage Adan Alexander and the bodies of 4 other captives. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes continue to target what they claim are militants, while humanitarian conditions deteriorate with no fuel left for water wells in Rafah. Also in the Middle East, President Trump recently ordered airstrikes against the Houthi rebels in Yemen, targeting multiple leaders of the Iranian-backed group. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz described the strikes as, quote, an overwhelming response rather than a pinprick back and forth, like the attacks of the previous administration. The Houthis have been attacking military and commercial vessels in the Red Sea, one of the world's busiest shipping corridors, causing shipping costs to rise. Approximately 70% of global commerce is now diverting around South Africa, which is an incredibly stable region. South Africa, it makes perfect sense that what's an additional 4,000 nautical miles? No big deal. If I was Iran, I'd add some Houthis or Houthi-esque type persons to South Africa. And what's the name of that island east of the African continent? With a M. It's got a M over there. It's not Mozambique. It's over there. Madagascar. Thank you. And Canadian Crusader comes in at the same time. Madagascar. Ding. Get that guy a cup of coffee. Yeah, the Madagascar. Yeah, if I was a bad guy, I'd be like, how many missiles can we put on Madagascar? Let's do that. How about South Africa? That place is just embroiled in perpetually embroiled in turmoil. Let's put some missiles down there too. How many scumbags can I export to the South African continent, the African continent in the South, and have them shoot the ships that are going around down there too? Twas it I, if I was the evil genius in Iran. I'm not. I'm not overwhelmingly evil, and I'm not convinced I'm a genius. But if I was, putting on my bad guy hat, I'd probably do that too. Because Africa's a shit show. Why not, why not exacerbate the shit show in Africa by adding some missiles? Why not? What's up, brother Gas? So let's see. The maritime conflict has exposed the fragility of global supply chains. Yep. With Waltz noting that shipping diversions are, quote, resulting in higher shipping costs and supply chain issues, end quote. Trump issued stern warnings to both the Houthis and Iran, promising that, quote, all caps, hell will rain down upon you, end quote, if attacks on shipping lanes continue. He then addressed Iran directly, writing, quote, to Iran, support for the Houthi terrorists must end immediately. Do not threaten the American people, their president, who has received one of the largest mandates in presidential history, or worldwide shipping lanes. If you do, beware, because America will hold you fully accountable, and we won't be nice about it. Now, luckily for us, the Obama administration only gave Iran billions of dollars in actual literal cash that nobody's supposed to know about. So that's no big deal there. And as we've talked about previously, when we get to Iran, I see there was a conflict in Afghanistan back in 1978. The Russians were involved and the Americans got involved. And yeah, so since 1979-ish, approximately, Iran has not been a puppet of Russia, but they've been highly dependent upon the former Soviet Union, now Russia. 1/7 of Iran's GDP comes above the threshold of detection, comes from business dealings, which is predominantly military materiel from Russia. And so Russia has and continues to prop up Iran because Iran's predominant target is Israel, and if not Israel, interests of Israel and the United States of America, which creates this is a literal proxy war between the United States and Russia. So maybe we get this minerals deal done that would cause Iran to simmer down, even though they literally chant death to Israel, death to America, the little Satan and the great Satan. So the levels of ideological alignment there are very low. But we've known since Trump's second candidacy that if he was elected, we'd probably get war with Iran. There was a lot of talk in between the first and second Trump assassination attempts, which we still, to this day, don't know anything about what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, the official story, or the guy with an SKS. Was it an SKS or something? With some kludged on bullshit, cheaper than dirt surplus scope, like duct taped onto the thing. That we still don't know anything about that. But Trump has been talking about for half a year. Iran's been trying to kill him. I don't think so. I don't think Iran has been trying to kill the president. I think the deep state has been trying to kill the president. Maybe that's a different conversation. But by pointing to Iran and saying, hey, look, they're the bad guys, it was just a matter of time before Trump gets reelected and we end up with war against Iran. Now, here's where things continue to get complicated geopolitically. Iran is a proxy war between the United States and Russia. But the American proxy is Israel. And we've turned off all foreign aid to all countries, asterisk. Send another $14 billion to Israel. It's in Israel's best interest. It's in Israel's best interest that Iran ceases to exist. I don't love the optics of the United States of America going in and doing the dirty work of the Israelis. You tug on that thread a little bit, you end up back at dancing Israelis on 9/11 and the USS Liberty. And why did we know that Saudi Arabia was involved in 9/11? We didn't attack Saudi Arabia. We attacked Afghanistan and Iraq. And on and on and on and on and on. And if you look at who we've been at war with basically since the Vietnam War, K Bono, who benefits? Not us, not the United States. It's our greatest ally, the Israelis. Our greatest ally, who's not a single time provided a single troop in any American conflict. Not one time. Who has received more billions of dollars in USA than any other country on planet Earth. Now, make no mistake, this is not a this is a nuanced conversation. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not. Elder Brother Judah, have deep respect for Elder Brother Judah, but the nation state of Israel, I do not. It's a secular nation. There's not a single mention of God in their founding documents intentionally. And biblically speaking, I know your pastor has lied to you your entire life, but biblically speaking, Israel is a people group, Genesis 32. And that land over there that was called Palestine beforehand is biblically referred to as Canaan or Canaan, the promised land. So, wordplay, they turned Israel into a place rather than a people. Because if you've read Ephesians 2 and Romans 8 in the New Testament and you believe in Messiah, you're more Israel than they are. Oh, snap. So the nation state of Israel is not somebody that garners deep respect from me. And if we just look at the nature of the relationship between the United States of America and the nation state of Israel, it clearly benefits only one party. And it ain't us. And so the idea that I want to go over there and spend blood and money to attack the Iranians, define attack. Can we get some F-35s in there and blow the shit out of a bunch of stuff and call it good? Probably. And if that's what we're talking about, you can maybe talk me into it. If we're talking about anything more involved than that, and the threat has been forever, my entire life. Iran is 2 weeks away from having a functional nuclear weapon. Yeah, they've been 2 weeks away for 40 years. They're 2 weeks away from enriching uranium past utility grade uranium for power generation to weapons grade uranium. It's not that big of a jump from 60% enriched to 90% enriched. They could have a weapon in 2 weeks. Okay, they still don't have a delivery system. And they still don't have a weapon. And if they did have a weapon, then what? So for like 4 decades, the impetus for we must attack Iran has been, if we don't attack them, they'll get a nuclear weapon, and then they'll kill us all. Remember that part about their friends with Russia? Russia's got 5,535 nuclear weapons. It wouldn't be that hard to just kick their buddy a nuclear weapon if that was really a threat. So I don't know. I don't know. Well, La Mesa, Dave, you should read Revelation chapter 7. From where then will the 144,000 come? It's 12,000 from each tribe, including the tribe of Levi, but not including the tribe of Dan. Why? Because Dan never got away from idol worship. Only 12,000 of those are from the tribe of Judah. And the tribe of Judah is different than the nation state of Israel. And so the real question, La Mesa Dave, is where is Issachar, Zebulun, Gad, Naphtali, Asher, Manasseh, Ephraim, etc.? Where are they? They're in the diaspora. They've been scattered to all corners of the earth so that they could fulfill the Genesis 18 prophecy that's given to Abraham, the father of many nations, that his seed will be like the sands of the seashore in the esteem of all nations. And that's what Paul is talking about, his epistles in the New Testament, that our belief would provoke them, the Yehudim, the tribe of Judah, to jealousy. Yeah. It's a nuanced conversation. I got a video on it. Go watch my Revelation chapter 7 video. But my point is, taking a piece of land, renaming it, and slapping a constitution on it and saying, oh, we're Israel now. No, that's wordplay. That's communism. Oh, and don't look into that. Where did communism come from? The Bolshevik Revolution. The Bolshevik Revolution. 6 million people died in the Holocaust. Maybe. That number is not officially uniformly accepted. But let's just say 6 million. 60 million Russians were Christian Muslim or Christian Russians were systematically murdered in the Bolshevik Revolution. What ethno-religion were the Bolsheviks? You see what I'm saying? It's an interesting thread to tug, is all that I'm saying. And my primary reason for bringing all this up is there's a lot of people in the Torah observant community that conform their mode of worship to that of the Yehudim. And the Yehudim are a very poor witness on how one should worship the creator of the universe, as evidenced by the Bible. They're so bad at it that they consistently get their ass kicked by the creator of the universe. So I wouldn't adopt their mode of worship, which gets into the nuanced conversation of biblical stuff, Hebrew stuff versus Jewish stuff. Jewish stuff is not biblical stuff. Do not add or take away from the word of this law. So anyway, how's that for a rabbit hole? This coffee is delicious. I'm so concerned that so many of y'all are like, what the hell is Bear talking about? I thought he was talking about Intel, and then he just hit me with some Bible stuff. And it's not entry-level Bible stuff, right? And so it requires a certain level of spiritual maturity and understanding in order to be able to participate in that conversation. Mark R. Yeah, no joke, right? I know. And all this to say again, anti-Semitism is me saying Jewish people bad. I'm not saying that at all. I have deep respect for elder brother Judah, comma. I do not want to geopolitically participate in anybody's shenanigans anywhere. And if we delve into whose shenanigans have we participated in the most, the answer ends up at some little country about the size of New Jersey over there, sequestered in the Middle East on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, that was bought and paid for by a Rothschild in 1948-49, post-World War II. And I don't like that. And if there was a single, let's just call it Zimbabwe. If this had been the nature of our relationship with Zimbabwe over the last 70 years, I'd be anti-Zimbabwean, like real fast. No, we're not going to go bleed and die for Zimbabwe. We're not going to go trillions of dollars in debt for Zimbabwe. We're not going to destroy our own demographics for Zimbabwe. We're not going to be politically fractured on the home front by Zimbabwe. We're not doing that. But you say the other word, which is a guy's name, and then 12 tribes that come from his sons, 13 if you count Levi. You say the other word, all of a sudden you're anti-Semitic. That's bullshit and violates the First Amendment. Right? Dangerous speech is what should be protected. And I wear Zitziot and read the Bible and keep Torah. So come at me. You know, you're anti-Semitic. Now, I've read the book a whole bunch of times. Remember, the same group of people that proudly killed Messiah and said his blood be on our heads and the heads of our children forever. But you want to conform your mode of worship to that? No, I don't think that's wise. I don't think that the Father is going to be impressed by that. So, unreliable witness when it comes to how to worship the creator of the universe. W Money said little kids need AKs. I mean, that's like standard SOP in like at least a quarter of the world, right? Let's see. It's Green Day. I think what is it? Anything that's green or has green in it is 20% off today at Refuge. So check that out. And that's all I'm going to say about it because I'm not allowed to shill. But you should check that out. Green Day, that band blows chunks. Yeah, they're terrible. Thank you, Miss Lovely Dudley. I get to perform a wedding today. That's going to be fun for two crazy kids that I love. It's gonna be awesome. So I'll be in a suit later today. It won't be green though. It's blue. It's one of my favorite suits because it was cut by my tailor Calvin to be able to hide all my Batman shit on my belt, which is awesome. So it's like, wow, that guy looks pretty dapper. It's sure does. Um, sorry, Rick S. I apologize. Shilling would be me going on for minutes and minutes and minutes about the fact that it's Green Day at Refuge Medical, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not allowed to do that. I have been talking to Dad about that, though. What am I allowed to do? And I'm allowed to answer questions about things like that, but I'm really not allowed to bring it up. Bear in a suit. Yeah, I wore my black suit at the Ruckus because I did a wedding for. I got to perform a wedding for Sky and Jennifer at the Ruckus. Do. Your wind covered my truck in mud when it rained, by the way. You're welcome, Minnesota Buckshot. It was my wind. That was my fault. I was standing in my front yard, pointed towards Minnesota, going, and I was like, if we don't get mud on Buckshot's truck, I have failed today. That was me. I did that. You're welcome. Remember that next time. Man, the next time you want to leave a YouTube comment, all I got to do is get out in the front yard and point north and start hollering, and your truck will be covered in mud again. And I'll do it next time. It could be gnats. It could be flies. It could be frogs. It could turn your well to blood. That's right. It could get crazy, man. It could get crazy. Oh, that's the show for today. You guys got any questions, any comments before we head out? Whoopi, saw you at a suit at the Ruckus, kind of made me take a second look. Yeah, I look like my family blamed lamppost. I guess it's just our fault. Were you in the front yard blowing north as well? What's up, Texas T? Shalom, brother. We love you. That's all. I love you back, JC Fixer. Aaron Gobra, still free in Vermont. Oh, that's right. Go check out the Caleb House Amazon registry. Yes, the Caleb House Amazon registry. Lamppost, you got a link to that? I think I got a link to that too. Let me hunt that down. Caleb House, it's our counter-trafficking ministry. We make bad things happen to bad people and rescue widows and orphans. I found it. Here we go. Spam in the chat with the Caleb House. And I was supposed to add that to the description on my videos this month per lamppost, but I haven't done that yet, so I should probably do that. What else, man? The Hoodbillies, aka the Hans family. What's up, Hoodbilly Homestead? Yes, please. Well, I can't. It's a different tab on YouTube, and I'm live right now. What bad things happen to bad people? Well, classified. But I could tell you we've got the statutes changed to get meaningful convictions on bad people in myriad different states that we've been operating in, because in a lot of states, check this out. You can serially abuse a child on camera and distribute that content all over the world, maybe into outer space. I don't know. And the charge comes with a slap on the wrist. Well, that's no good. And so that's part of what our field teams and our legal teams have been doing. Also, demand reduction operations. What's demand reduction? Like, why are there people who are trying to meet up with a 13-year-old they met on the internet? Who's that person? Let's go take that person off the chessboard. So, things like that. Meaningful convictions and other things that shouldn't be discussed on the internet. Yeah, that. And then the victim, which is the term that the counter-trafficking industry likes to use, which I hate. We call them survivors. The survivor, those are the people that we put back together again. And here's the challenge in this. If you go far enough back into the history of the attacker, the perpetrator, knowing what I know now, doing what we've done thus far, I can damn near guarantee you, 99+% certain, somebody hurt that person, which is why they hurt the people that they hurt. And you go back into that person's life, and at some point you end up at the garden with Hasatan, Adam, and Eve, right? But judge and judge righteously according to the law. Okay. So there's a choice, and here's the crux of the issue. There's a choice. Hurt people choose to hurt people. And if you are above the age of accountability, if you are a legal adult who has chosen to systematically hurt people, we will make sure you pay a price for that. And we will put back together again the people that you hurt so that they don't grow up and hurt more people. And that's breaking generational curses. And it's a heavy lift, boys and girls. It's a heavy lift. If you think about your house, right? Maybe you had an alcoholic mom or an abusive dad or an uncle whose fingers lingered too much when he gave you a hug or, all that, right? And you've decided, yeah, you're not going to subject your children to that. Even, I grew up in a household that was filled with violence. Have there been times where I'm like, I just want to smack the shit out of my kids? Yes, there have been times, but have I? No, never. Not once, because I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that. And that's a lot of work for an individual inside of a household. Now, scale that to many, many, many homes with dozens of children, of breaking generational curses, deep, extremely painful, impactful generational curses on that level, and then systematize that, call it Caleb House, and repeat that process all around the country until we don't need these things anymore because we've unbroken the broken. That's what we're doing. We're unbreaking the broken. And I'll tell you this, boys and girls, there's no way to do that without the blood of Messiah. There is no way, no lasting way that I'm aware of. And I've read all the books and the programs and done all those things. And these kids need Messiah because they have to learn to love themselves again so that they can forgive, so that they can heal. And forgiveness does not mean restoration of access and placement. Forgiveness doesn't mean you let the person who hurt you back into your life. That would be stupid. And in fact, if we've done our job well on the other side of the coin, it wouldn't be possible for you to let that person back into your life because they're locked up for the rest of theirs. And so that's what we're doing with Caleb House. And that's why we have a Caleb House Amazon wish list, because we have houses that we need to furnish and build, and concrete to pour, and framing to do, and roads to build, and drainage to continue to remediate, and plants to plant, and livestock to feed, and blah, blah, blah. We've built an intentional community for messed up people, which is great because I have experience at this. And sometimes, frankly, the kids are easier to deal with than the adults. But it's good. It's good. It is righteous. It is our orphanage, if you will, with a very specific group of kiddos that other programs, other orphanages, other homes will not take because it is so involved to put them back together again. So that's what we're doing, because apparently the Father thinks highly of us. Cool. They're not equipped to help them. That's correct, Bat Mom. They're not. Speaking of help, again, Grindstone is headed to Mississippi. So be on the lookout for Grindstone YouTube channels. I'll be posting stuff on my Patreon page. Later in the week, I will be out there with them. They are establishing a foothold now. And then I'll be, sabbatical. What a joke. I'm actually looking forward. I am looking forward to going and serving. I was talking with my wife about that yesterday. We had about an hour car ride. And I was like, I need a deployment. I need to just go help. I need to go help people who have lost everything. Because it is the perfect reframe for thankfulness. If you can't be thankful for what you have when you're standing in the midst of devastation, you've lost it. You've lost the meaning of life. You've lost your relationship with Elohim. So I need to go. I need to put my other Batman belt on, which is a feller's belt with an axe and wedges and a first aid kit and a scrunch, and get my sword, which is a steel MS 661 ported and tuned, and go do what I do. And praise Yah that there is an opportunity to serve and to love like that. Don't forget your pants, bro. I won't, brother. They are actually on top of my firewood pile right now, air curing per your instructions. So I need to go. Like, I need to go. I need to go help people. Because that's my superpower. That's what Yah made me to do, is to help people. And the acuteness of a storm makes it easier for me to help people. I have a map sheet for that. I'm pretty good at that. It's harder for me to help people when the threat is not immediate or so well defined. I have to think about, in normal everyday life, how do I help this person? And the answer is not always evident. It takes more time and reflection, more effort on my part, which leads to frustration. But if you look at like all the things that we do, Bear Independent and Refuge and Grindstone and Caleb House, they're all help people. It's all superhero shit. Maybe it's delusional. Okay, cool. Check the fruit. How many good works does one have to cobble together before there's enough fruit there to go? Well, at least your delusion is serving the kingdom of Elohim. Cool. So I have things to do here at home this week that I am honored and blessed to do. And I also can't wait to get to the storm, because I'm very much me in that environment. I'm much closer to the me that Yah made me to be in that environment. Preservation of life is your superpower, Brother T. Bless you, Whoopi. So keep Grindstone in your prayers. If you want to participate, you got to go to grindstoneministries.com, sign up. There's a vetting process, and go through that process. Come help. There's nothing like a Grindstone deployment. It's just not. And when I say that, it's not because we're so cool. It's because the Father shows up and shows off. And it will absolutely strengthen your faith and your relationship with the Creator if you let it. I can't wait to get to the storm would make a good t-shirt. That's a good word, Scotty John. All right. I'm going to hop off of here. I got to get my PT in for the day. And then later today, I am blessed that I get to marry a beautiful couple and usher them on into life as one echad. I love you all. Thank you. And I will see you when I see you. Shalom.